And now here's your host of Fathers and Sons, John Aita.
Welcome to another episode of Fathers and Sons, the show about parents, children, and the relationships that bond them together. I'm your host, John Aita, and today we'll be speaking to one of the finest scholar athletes ever produced by Long Island. But first, a word from our executive director, Mr. Clyde Davis.
Hello, my name is Clyde Davis, and I'm the creator of Fathers and Sons, the television show. The purpose of Fathers and Sons, the television show, was to help young fathers raise healthy and productive sons. All of us pay too much attention to ourselves. And when you take your focus off yourself and put your focus on raising a child, raising a grandson, helping a wife, assisting a wife, assisting a daughter, a teacher, a friend, anyone, just giving of yourself to somebody else, then things do become better for you. And there's less stress. There's less stress in your life. Join us every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. on Cablevision Channel 115. Anyone can make a baby, but it takes a man to raise a child. Thank you.
Welcome back. High school football in Long Island doesn't have the notoriety of some other parts of the country, with one notable exception. St. Anthony's High School in Southampton is a perennial powerhouse, winning 19 league titles. Of all the young men who have carried the ball for this storied school, none have had the success of my next guest, rushing for almost 4,000 yards and an incredible 76 touchdowns. He recently graduated Penn State University, where he played for the legendary coach, Joe Paterno. Please welcome Matt Hahn and his dad, Kevin. Gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
So, 76 touchdowns. That's in 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's 75 actually more than I scored. And that was an accident because somebody fumbled the ball and I happened to recover it. That kind of success, and you were kind of a big deal in Long Island sports, right? How did that affect you, like growing up, to be such a big star?
Honestly, I don't really think it affected me too much. I just think it kind of helped me to realize that, going out, there might be some people who know who I am, so I might have to conduct myself and think about my actions a little more than, my buddy who I went to high school with that could, do pretty much whatever he wanted. I just kind of had to watch my back and make sure I knew the people that I was surrounding myself with.
Right, because anything you do out there might
Right,
show up on the Daily
right.
News the next day,
Yeah.
so it's good. So
Right.
your dad, actually it's good for you, yeah, because you have the advantage of the press keeping an eye on your son's boy out there too, right?
Yeah, it was a very exciting time, and certainly an athletic life is a wholesome lifestyle. So he was always busy training, whether he was in football or not. So he wasn't hanging out anywhere. He was in the right places and doing the right things, and he always took care of himself, even up through Penn State.
Now, St. Anthony's is a Catholic high school. Was that always the plan for Matt to attend a Catholic high school, or was that something that football kind of dictated?
No, it was dictated by football. When he was younger, he was in private Christian school, and as time went on and he started to emerge as a really good football player, we knew that we were going to have to move him either to the district or to St. Anthony's. And St. Anthony's was clearly the best football place for him, plus a great academic institution. So it wasn't in the plan, but it kind of unfolded that way.
Right. Now, how much did football take over your high school life, and was it a year-round thing for you at the level you play at?
Yeah, I mean, for me it was a year-round thing because it was something I enjoyed. I didn't necessarily have to be going to camps and weight training and speed training all year round, but that's really what I enjoyed to do. I looked forward to it. So it was by choice, but it was definitely a year-round job. And I played other sports. I ran track and I played basketball, but football was my primary focus, and I was always working at it year-round.
When did you start playing football?
I was 8.
8,
I started
Pop
playing.
Warner?
Yeah, first game, 8 years old.
Must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, did your dad support you right from go, your family?
Yeah. I'm not necessarily sure how I got into playing, but the first game, my whole family was there, and I scored 3 touchdowns. My my dad made a bet with me that I would get $10 for every touchdown I scored, because he didn't think I was really going to be good. And the first 3 times I touched the ball, I scored touchdowns. So I made a lot of money that year, and I was only 8 years old. So
It's not bad. 76. I hope you didn't keep that through high school. 76
No,
touchdowns.
that was a wise investment at that time. No, I wouldn't have been able to pay the mortgage paying him $10 for every touchdown.
Now you were involved in your son's life from the beginning. Now, was it something that you were a little hesitant about him playing football, or is it something you supported right from the beginning?
No, when he was young, real young, baseball was his primary sport, and then it was basketball, and then we tried football, and I didn't really know. We don't have football as a root athletically in this family. We're a baseball and basketball family. And his first game, the first time he touched the ball, he ran for like an 80-yard touchdown, and he had about 300 yards rushing, and I kind of said to my dad, I think he's pretty good at this.
So that's something that happened right away.
Yeah.
You knew that you had some special talent, like right from go, like that. Now, was that something that grew as you went on, or were you always the best football player, like even from junior high and stuff like that?
yeah, it was just something that I was kind of just the best player. I don't know. I just went out there and I had fun. I didn't really even, realize that. I was just going out there and having fun, and it wasn't really something that I thought about taking seriously until probably my junior year of high school, when I started to get these major universities that are offering me scholarships and that are, trying to get in touch with me. Even up until 10th grade, I was just having fun with it. I was having fun playing with my friends, and I was taking it seriously, but I wasn't living by it and dying by it. I was just having a good time. And then once 11th grade came around, I realized that this could be something that could open up a future for me. So I started to concentrate even more on it.
It's something that you certainly you really excelled at in high school. We're going to talk about it. You went to Penn State University also, which is we're going to talk about that coming up in just a minute. Fathers and Sons going to be right back. We're going to talk about the experience of playing for the legendary Joe Paterno coming up right after this.
Sports are a great way to teach kids valuable lessons. It's also a great way to build relationships, like the one between a player and his coach. Rich Reichert and Matt Hahn can relate. Hahn played for Coach Reichert at St. Anthony's High School in Huntington, Long Island for 4 seasons as the Friars' star running back.
Well, Matt was the best athlete that we ever had here at St. Anthony's. He really put us on a different level. We won some championships, but he was the guy that really got us going.
But Matt was more than just a good football player.
It was funny. He was a very quiet leader. He wasn't a rah-rah guy at all. Just a real team player who led by example, and that's one of the things that I think our kids, learn from him. And we hope that we have a couple more guys with that kind of an attitude. Yeah, his mother and father were always at the games. His grandfather was a big supporter. Just a real family-oriented kid.
Great athlete with a great attitude and a strong family bond. So how do these traits transition onto the field?
Well, I think that's what was so special, because he wasn't, like I said, he wasn't really a rah-rah guy. He really led by example. He was a very, very hard worker in the weight room and on and off the field. He was a great student, and I think our kids just learned a lot about life and what working hard can get you, through his example.
And how does the field transition to life?
We try to teach them that it's really not football. Football is more of a game of life, and what you learn on the field, so you're certainly going to take with you down the road. And we hope that some of the values that we're trying to teach, doing things the right way, working hard, working together for a team-oriented goal, are the kind of things that you carry on in life.
In the end, both player and coach have shared experiences they will never forget.
In the championship game against Monsignor Farrell, against Josh Amaro, where his helmet blew off and the ear pads blew right out of the helmet, just was one of the most exciting plays I've ever seen, and by far the best hit I've ever seen in a high school game. Nobody was hurt, but it was a great hit, and it was a real game-changing play. Our kids just got so excited, the crowd went crazy, and we were able to win a championship that afternoon.
And those lessons learned can help guide kids like Matt all the way to the NFL. For Fathers and Sons, I'm James Ferguson.
And we're back. I'm speaking to Matt Hahn and his dad, Kevin. Now, you went to Penn State. and almost immediately they switch you to fullback, which is a weird thing because you were probably single back in most of your career. You carried the ball all the time. Was it a hard adjustment for you switching to fullback in college?
I think, it was difficult at first just because I think physically I wasn't prepared to play fullback. I came in school and I was only 215 pounds, and your typical fullback is around 235, 240. So I was a little bit undersized. It wasn't necessarily negative for me because it was a way for me to get on the field early. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, but just having to deal with the physical part of the game, just being undersized and dealing with guys that were bigger than me, that was the toughest part.
Right. Now, playing for Joe Paterno, the guy's a Hall of Fame coach. He's one of the most famous coaches in all sports. Was that an experience for you?
Yeah, it was. It's a great experience. Everywhere I go, people ask about him. How's he doing? What's he like? So, I definitely think that it was a great opportunity to play for Coach Paterno, and he's taught me a lot. He's a great teacher. He's a great motivator, and he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. So there's not much more you can say about that.
Now, Kevin, what went into the decision to send Matt to Penn State? What kind of thinking process went there? Because I'm sure tons of people wanted you to get a scholarship.
Penn State was in the recruiting process very aggressive early, and Brian Norwood was the coach that recruited him. We really liked him a lot. He was a good man, and they came on very, very, very strong. And actually, the first offer was from Georgia Tech, and that's when we knew they actually offered him just based on his game film, and we weren't really sure exactly what was going to happen. But once they offered, we said, okay, other people are going to follow. And then Penn State got in the mix, and Larry Johnson had just broken the rushing record, so he was a big back like Larry. And when we went up to the facilities and we met Coach Paterno, it was hard to say no. And I think Matt wanted to get the decision off the table and finish his senior year strong.
Right. Now, you were obviously a big fish in a little pond in Long Island, but then you go into Penn State where there's top guys like you from all over the country. Was that a hard adjustment for you, being like one of many as opposed to the guy?
For me, it wasn't a hard adjustment. I've always kind of worked hard, and they tell you when you come in, you go to school, you go to class, you do what you got to do in the weight room, and you work hard, and you're going to get your opportunity if you have the talent. So I basically just listened to them. I went to class, was a pretty decent student, worked hard in the weight room, got a good reputation, and the coaches knew they can count on me, so it wasn't really too big of a transition for me, as I was just focused on working hard, and everything worked out.
Now, you played 3 years at Penn State, then you're in a game, you're having the best game of your college career.
Right.
You got 5 carries, you got 40 yards, you're running the ball well, you feel your knee pop. Like at that moment, what goes through your mind?
Well, as soon as I planted, I knew what it was in my head. I'm laying on the ground, because I know that my career's over there. And it was kind of a shock. You go through different swings of emotion. At first, you're kind of real upset. The first night, you're waking up, you're having dreams that's what happened, and then you realize that that's really what happened. So that was tough. But then after that, being around the guys, that's the one thing that really kept me going. Was I got a lot of good friends on the team, and just being around the guys in the locker room really kept me going, in a positive direction as far as rehab and things like that. So. It's just a different wave of emotions, but once you come to terms with it, you're a football player. You realize that it's a possibility that you're going to get hurt playing a game that's as violent as football. So I've been lucky throughout my career. It's the only injury that I've had. It just so happens that it happened, the 9th game of my senior year, which, is not great, but there's never really a good time to get injured. So
true. Now I'll ask you the same question, Kevin. What went through your mind at that moment?
Well, we were my wife and my other son Kevin happened to be at that game. That was the only away game in his career that we went to, because all the other guys played too. So we would go to his home games and their games when he was away. And this was a game we picked on the schedule, and you couldn't have a more different level of emotion, because he was having a great game. It was what I always thought he could do if they put the ball in his hands more than a couple of times, and he was having a great game, and then all of a sudden he was hurt, and we just went from here down to there, and I didn't really know it was him that was injured. And then when they took him off, I was pretty sure I knew what it was, and then he went off on crutches, and he kind of looked up at us in the stands and shook his head, and we knew that it was over, at least for Penn State. But he certainly, for me, couldn't have gone out on a stronger note. We were extremely proud of his career, extremely proud of the way he played in that game and how he handled himself through the injury. It showed us what kind of a person that he is, what kind of a son he is.
Definitely. When we come back, we're going to talk about Matt's trip to NFL minicamp and what comes next. Fathers and Sons will be right back after this. When I was asked to speak about parenting, my first thought was, wow, these people are really hard-pressed for experts. But the more I thought about it, the more I figured that maybe I am something of an expert in parenting. After all, I've raised 4 sons to near adulthood and I haven't lost one yet. Well, there was that one time with the Bronx Zoo, but I only turned my head for a second, and we found him, eventually. I don't want to make it seem like it's easy, because it's not. Especially when your kids outnumber you. That's a recipe for trouble, my friend. They'll hurt you. They got too many weapons. You can bend, but you can't break. The fact is, the real key to parenting and life in general, as a wise man once said, is simply showing up. What you say to your kids is not nearly as important as being there to say it. Whatever you're doing this week that seems more important than spending time with your children, believe me, it's not. There'll always be another client or boss or manager. Life has a way of providing an endless supply of people like that. Your window of opportunity to make a connection with your kids, however, is extremely small. There's a reason why "they grow up so fast" has become a cliche. If anything, it understates the case. That little loaf of bologna that you bring home from the hospital becomes a gangly, kitchen-raiding teenager before you can say, "Hey, who left that milk carton in here?" Don't blink or you'll miss it, and miss the opportunity to pass along the stuff that's really important. The stuff that cuts through all the noise and clutter. Like standing up for yourself and your family. Maintaining your sense of humor and your poise, even in difficult spots. They have their moments, of course, but I just thank God they're healthy, thank God they're happy, and thank God they're not daughters. I guess one of the first things that happen when you become a parent is your opinion of your own father changes. I used to think my dad was a bit of a madman growing up, but now in retrospect, the man showed admirable restraint. I'm still here, aren't I? Looking back, I realize I owe a lot to my father. A little under $23,000 with penalties and interests. Checks in the mail, Pop. And we're back. I'm speaking to Matt Hahn and his dad, Kevin. You were signed to a contract like 2 seconds after the draft ended. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked by it just because the nature of my injury takes a while to rehab it, and I was only out 6.5 months, which is relatively fast to be signed on a contract and then them expecting you to play. It's usually a year process. So I was caught off guard a little bit, but it was a nice opportunity and I enjoyed it.
What was the minicamp experience like?
It was good. It was a little different than college. You know, you're getting paid for it, so it's a job. It's more like a 6 to 7:30 at night job. It's not your 9 to 5. So it's definitely demanding, but you know, I had a good experience out there, and I'm glad I did it.
Now, Kevin, if there's any kid who had the possibility to turn out, you know, to be stuck up, full of himself, it's Matt. I mean, he's given every opportunity to become that sort of a kid, and the fact that he didn't, I think, is a testament to you. And how did you keep him steady and on the right path?
I think that we've from the beginning had a balanced family life. I mean, Matt is not a football player to us. He's our son, so we didn't raise him as a football player. We tried to give him, you know, training once we kind of recognized that he had, you know, a gifting and an ability. We gave him as much training as we could, which I think helped. But the household has always been balanced between sports, our family life, and our church life. So the fact that he's not playing football anymore doesn't really change anything for us.
But you graduated on time, 4 years at Penn State,
Yep.
which is a good accomplishment,
Yep.
especially the kind of ball you played. Your little brother is at Penn State now.
Yep.
Right? Is it tough for him to follow in your footsteps over there?
No, I don't think so. I don't really think he has any expectations put on himself. I think he's just going in there having fun, working hard, and you know, let the chips fall where they may. He's gonna carve his own path, and he'll do well. And he's excited, and I think we're all excited to see what he can do.
And what comes next for Matt, huh?
Just life, just job interviews, and I don't know, just living normal life.
Are you gonna miss the football life?
I think I'll miss it a little bit. I just need a little bit of a break from it, I think, and there's a possibility that I might want to get into some coaching. I'm not 100% sure that I'm done playing yet, but for right now I am. But I think there's some football in my future. I just don't know in what capacity, and right now I just need a little break from it and to focus on starting a career and getting things moving that way.
Right. Now, how many other kids do you have, Kevin?
Kevin, he's at Penn State. You just
Right.
mentioned him. Hannah is graduating high school at Hills West in a couple of weeks.
Congratulations.
And thank you, Christian is in 7th grade.
7th grade. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of upbringing did you have coming up? Like, describe a little bit of like the Hahn family life growing up.
Just, good family. Just, we did a lot of family things together. Tight-knit family. It was just a great, I was definitely blessed and, lucky to have the type of family that was at every single one of my games or any event. Didn't have to be a game, and we all supported each other and we all had each other's back, and it was definitely good just to know that you had that support. And like my dad said, that to them I'm not a football player, I'm his son, and I'm a brother, and that's how I'm treated, and I think that's that's great. I definitely wouldn't trade my family for the world, and just had a lot of great memories with them, and there's 50 years of memories to come. So
If you had to give some advice to people out there on how to keep your kids on the straight and narrow, what would you give them? What would you tell our listeners?
I would say don't make sports their whole life. Football, baseball, whatever it is. Parents put a lot of pressure on their kids, and it becomes just more of a weight and a pressure than really something that you can enjoy. And if you recognize there's a special talent in them, invest into that. And if not, let them just have fun. There is a pressure that comes with that level of athletics too, and you have to have a balanced foundation. And for us, it's our Christian life and our family life kind of joined together with some athletic gifting, which has just had a lot of exciting times for us.
Well, you seem to have done a fantastic job with Matt. I always enjoy seeing a family that can stick together like this and see people who come through situations like yours and still come out basically who they were in the beginning. Because, as you know, this kind of life changes people in not
Right.
good ways in a lot of times.
Sure.
So it's enjoyable for us to see you guys come through the other end. And so I want to thank you both for coming.
Thank you
Matt,
too.
good luck with what you
Appreciate
do.
it. Thank you.
Kevin,
John.
fantastic
Appreciate
job.
it. Good
Fathers
being
and
here.
Sons will be right back after this. That'll do it for Fathers and Sons today. We want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank all of my guests for their insights. And remember, keep the focus on the family and everything will work out fine. We'll see you next time on Fathers and Sons.